January 7, 2013, the day the lights finally went out at the flagship Chadwick's on Oxford Street, was the day a once proud catalog empire slipped into the shadows of a digital age that it never quite learned to navigate. Founded in 1893 by the visionary retailer William Chadwick, the company began as a modest haberdashery in a cramped London back alley, where hand-stitched waistcoats and silk cravats were displayed in hand-drawn catalogs that arrived like postcards to the doorsteps of the burgeoning middle class. By the early 1900s, Chadwick's catalogs had become a staple of British households, their glossy pages promising elegance at a price that made fashion accessible to the masses. The brand's promise, style for every street, echoed through the corridors of working-class homes, and the company's fortunes rose in lockstep with the nation's own industrial ascent. The interwar years saw Chadwick's expand from a single storefront to a network of 45 stores across the United Kingdom. Its catalog, printed on cheap but durable paper, traveled by rail and post, reaching remote towns where no high street shop could. In 1934, the company launched its first mail order service, allowing customers to order by telegram and receive parcels within a fortnight, a logistical marvel that cemented Chadwick's reputation as a pioneer of retail convenience. World War II forced a temporary retreat, rationing limited fabric, and the government commandeered much of the company's production capacity. Yet Chadwick survived, emerging after 1945 with a renewed vigor that capitalized on the post-war boom. The 1950s and 1960s marked the golden era. Glossy color catalogs, television advertisements, and a string of iconic store openings turned the brand into a household name. By 1972, Chadwick's boasted a turnover of £150 million, and its catalogs were printed in the millions, each issue a miniature newspaper of fashion trends, home decor, and aspirational living. However, the first warning signs flickered in the late 1990s when the internet began to reshape consumer habits. While rivals such as ASOS and Next.com were investing heavily in e-commerce platforms, Chadwick's clung to its legacy systems. The board commissioned a digital strategy in 2001, but the plan was vague, merely a website that mirrored the printed catalog, lacking inventory integration, secure payment gateways, or mobile optimization. Internally, senior executives dismissed the need for a full-scale overhaul, believing that loyal customers would remain anchored to the tactile experience of flipping through paper pages. By 2005, the company's profit margins began to erode. Sales data revealed a 12% decline in catalog orders, while online traffic to the brand's website plateaued at a few thousand visits per month. Yet the board's response was to double the print run of the catalog, hoping that nostalgia would offset the digital drift. The decision proved costly. Printing and distribution expenses ballooned, adding £8 million to operating costs, while revenue continued its downward slide. In 2008, a stark internal memo circulated among senior managers. Our inventory turnover is now 150 days, compared to an industry average of 70 days. Stock sitting in warehouses is depreciating faster than our brand value. The memo flagged three critical issues: outdated inventory management, a lack of real-time data, and an over-reliance on seasonal catalogs. Yet the board's reaction was defensive, attributing the problems to temporary market fluctuations and promising a new flagship store to revitalize the brand's image. The final blow came not from a single market shock, but from a cascade of missed opportunities. In 2010, Chadwick's attempted a joint venture with a tech startup to develop a mobile shopping app. The partnership dissolved after 6 months, the app never launched, and the startup filed a lawsuit for breach of contract. The legal fees and settlement costs ate into the already thin cash reserves. Simultaneously, a new competitor, Boohoo, offered ultra-fast fashion at prices that undercut Chadwick's, and did so entirely online, with a supply chain that could restock popular items in under a week. By early 2012, the company's debts had ballooned to £45 million, and the bank issued a formal warning of covenant breach. Suppliers began demanding cash on delivery terms, and the once glittering catalog shelves turned empty. Employees felt the tension. Long-standing floor staff received redundancy notices, and the senior leadership team met in a dim conference room, eyes fixed on a spreadsheet that projected a cash flow deficit of £12 million for the next quarter. On December 18, 2012, Chadwick's announced that it would enter administration, citing unsustainable financial pressure and the rapid evolution of consumer purchasing habits. The news sent shockwaves through the retail community. Employees gathered outside the headquarters, clutching their final pay slips, while loyal customers, many of whom had received their first Chadwick's catalog as teenagers, posted tributes on social media, sharing memories of late-night catalog browsing with a cup of tea. The administration process was swift. By February 2013, the majority of the 120 stores were shuttered, and the remaining inventory was sold off in a series of going out of business sales that attracted lines of bargain hunters. The iconic Oxford Street flagship, a building that had stood for more than a century, was auctioned to a property developer who announced plans to convert it into mixed-use office space. The final catalog, dated March 2013, bore a single line on its back cover: "Thank you for being part of our story." The aftermath of Chadwick's collapse rippled far beyond the loss of jobs and retail space. Former employees struggled to transition into a gig economy that offered little stability, while small suppliers who had relied on the brand's large orders faced bankruptcy. Subscribe to The Collapse for more stories like this.